Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, where the eternal sound vibration is going on every single day. Nitya also means every day, according to Srila Prabhupada. So we do this every day. Now we have, as I've said to you before, in case someone wasn't there to hear it, we have 902 videos in the YouTube channel. Daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. This is a milestone and quite enlivening to think about. Just in 3 years, over 900 videos archiving the books read cover to cover, including all the purports. This is our legacy service and offering to Srila Prabhupada and future generations of Vaishnavas. And we finished the first proof hearing, although there's one chapter that Rasika is still doing, and there may be some more to change there, maybe some dub ends to do there. And of course there's many, many corrections that he has to make. When he goes back to Houston, he'll be doing it. We got some very positive news today from Doamora that it looks like the applications have all gone in for the permission to grant visas from ISKCON Sostri. Yes, and it looks very favorable that we can have Rasika back as soon as possible and Abhay also back as soon as possible. So things are going in an upbeat direction. We're going to have an initiation here in this very room on Tuesday. Antoine, Bhakti Antoine from London, and there'll be a few devotees here, and it'll be very ecstatic. Okay, let's move on. Srimad Bhagavatamrta Stotram by Srila Sanatana Goswami, glorifying the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the summum bonum of all scriptures and the scripture that all of the other Rasika literatures from the Goswamis are based upon. And that glorification goes like this. Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarvavit Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drik Prada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwandodita Ditya Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Mad Mahadana Manistadaga Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu saduta dayin adini chotata kada hanamun chagadachin mam premna ritkanta yospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Gopakumar, who now is Sarup, is watching Krishna's pastimes unfold, and he has entered. And now Akrura has come. These pastimes, they keep going on and on. And they're ever fresh. It's not like anybody gets bored because it's like it's happening for the first time. So we're starting on text 321. Akrura has brought the chariot to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura, and the gopis and other Vrajvasis have reacted very vigorously to try to stop Krishna, and now we're right in the middle of this action. 321. Akrura brought Krishna to Lord Brahma's lake, offered him many kinds of prayers, and counseled him with a continuous flow of logical arguments, in this way restoring him to an almost normal state. Commentary. Akrura hoped that being at Brahmarada, better known as Akrura Tirtha, would remind Krishna of how Krishna had given the cowherds a vision of Vaikuntha, and that memory might further remind Krishna of one of the purposes for which he had descended to the earth, to kill Kamsa. Text 322. How the people of Braja then suffered is too painful to hear. Alas, alas, telling of this topic shatters even lightning bolts. I have said enough. Commentary. Those who hear about the misery the Brajavasis underwent after Krishna left them will endure the same misery. Therefore, in the company of those unprepared to suffer, this topic is best left undiscussed. 322. Sri Parikshit said, Sarup, having said this, his voice full of grief, loudly wept, dear mother, and overwhelmed by the ecstasy of pure love, he fainted. (324) The excellent but shaken Brahmana of Mathura cried for a moment, and then, by trying this way and that, he brought Sarup back to normal. Sarup then continued to speak. Sri Sarup said, Krishna went to Madhupuri, where he pleased all its residents. He killed Kamsa and his followers and delivered his own parents. Commentary. To avoid the risk of again losing control of himself, Sri Sarupa changed the subject. When Krishna first entered Mathura, he blessed many of its residents, including a tailor and a garland maker. Text 326. He installed Ugrasena, Kamsa's father, as king, brought the Yadavas back from all directions, and consoled the people of the city. 327 and 328. The Yadus, who had no goal in life but Krishna, had suffered greatly and were terrified of the kings favored by Kamsa. Out of concern for those Yadus, the Lord, always compassionate to his devotees, stayed with them with his elder brother, and to comfort his devotees in Gokula, he sent back Nanda and the other cowherd men. Commentary. Krishna is Bhaktavatsala. He feels obliged to take care of anyone who takes exclusive shelter of him. Because Kamsa hated the Yadus, they suffered terrible persecution under his rule. Now Kamsa was dead, but Jarasandha and other powerful friends of Kamsa were still alive and could attack Mathura at any moment. Text 329. Father, the Lord said, First, you should go quickly home with the cowherds before any of Gokula's residents die in our absence. Commentary. Krishna cleverly argued that if Nanda Maharaj were to return home, the Brajabasis might be pacified enough to at least stay alive. 3:30. I will soon arrange for the happiness of these well-wishers of yours in Mathura, whose hearts are so distressed. Then I will come back to Braja. Commentary. Nanda should have no doubt that Krishna will return home as soon as possible, because Krishna's heart always stays in Braja. Text 331. Sri Nanda said, before I came here, I declared to the Brajabasis that I could never believe that you are someone else's son, nor ever believe that you could abandon such friends as them and live elsewhere. Text 332. Therefore, please save us. Save us. Don't ever, ever, for any reason, send us away from you. Wherever you might go by your sweet will, oh, there may we also go with you. 333. The Vrajavasis and your mother will live and breathe only because I gave them hope. If I were to return so hard-hearted as to go back without you, O Father, surely they would die on the spot. Commentary. All the people of Braja trusted Nanda when he gave his word that he would not come back without Krishna. To violate that word would be to sentence them all to death. Desperate to change Krishna's mind, Nanda tries to reawaken Krishna's family sentiments and the memory of his poor mother, and curiously reverses roles with Krishna by calling him father. Text 334. Sri Dhamma said, when you display your glories by grazing the cows in the pastures, dear Lord, and you are hidden behind trees or creepers, but for a moment we cannot bear to live. How then can we possibly stay without you for a long time? 335. Sri Sarup said, as the Lord heard these complaints from his devotees, he stood in silence. Then Vasudeva, the son of Shurasena, spoke up, afraid that the Lord might decide to go to Braja. Text 336. Sri Vasudeva said, Brother Nanda, surely your son and his elder brother can be happy in all respects only by living there in Braja. They will suffer nothing but distress anywhere else. 337. But now it is the time for them to be initiated. They should go as brahmacharis to another place to study, and afterwards they can return to Braja. Commentary. As the Dharma Shastras prescribe, sons of Vaishyas at the age of 11 should undergo the Upanayana Sanskara, acceptance of the sacred thread by initiation. Balaram and Krishna, Vasudeva suggests, are not exceptions. They too should be sent to the Gurukula of a learned Brahmana to study the Vedas. They should stay neither in Mathura nor at home in Vrindavan with their parents, but until the Upanayana ceremony is arranged, Balaram and Krishna can safely stay with Vasudeva while they finish their business in Mathura. Text 338. Sri Sarup said, when Nanda saw that Krishna disagreed with his words and agreed with those of Vasudeva, Nanda departed, crying in distress. Commentary. Only because Nanda was confident that Krishna couldn't stay away from home without his father was Nanda willing to leave. Surely Krishna would decide at the last minute to come back with him to Braja. 339. Lord Krishna, along with the princes of the Yadava dynasty, followed Nanda, the king of the cowherds. The cowherd men, one after another, embraced Krishna by the neck, and Krishna cried profusely, and so did they. Text 340. Vasudeva and the other Yadavas, all astute, saw that Krishna was overwrought, wanting to go, and with many arguments they coaxed him back. Commentary. It seemed that Nanda was right. Krishna wanted to go home with him, but the Yadavas implored Krishna not to go, arguing that he was needed in Mathura to save them from great catastrophes, not least of which was the threat of invasion by Jarasandha. And they persisted in putting forward their reasons until Krishna agreed to stay. Text 341. Obeying Krishna's desire, Nanda and the other cowherd men went back to Braja. And when the Brajavasis heard that he had arrived, they all came out to greet him, full of joy. Commentary. Only because Krishna asked the cowherds to return did they take the unimaginable step of going home without him. Krishna's desire was the only force that could move them to do such a thing. Even the carts went down the road by their own force, without being driven by Krishna's desire. The devotees that had stayed in Braja also lived only according to Krishna's desire. Naturally, they assumed that Krishna was with Nanda, and they greeted Nanda joyfully. 342. Nanda, however, overcome with sorrow and shame, covered his face with his cloth and went home. There he lay on the ground and cried, supremely miserable. Commentary. Bereft of Krishna, Nanda had good reason to feel sorrowful, and having broken his promise not to return without Krishna, good reason to feel ashamed. Text 343. The Brajavasis, not seeing their Lord, were beside themselves with distress, confused about what to do, and sick with the forebodings and apprehensions. Their faces withered. They heard no news from the elder cowherds about their Lord, and they couldn't bring themselves to ask. Commentary. Since no one told the Brajavasis that Kamsa was dead, they were still afraid of what he might do to Krishna. Nanda was silent about what had happened to Krishna in Mathura, and they feared what they might be told if they were to ask. 344. Krishna's mother cried, "Alas, alas, alas, alas." And other women cried out too, all in great pain. How can one speak about the state they were in? Oh, alas, oh, alas. 345. Sri Parikshit said, "Dear mother, that best of young cowherds, Sarup, then again grew utterly confused. As he contemplated what had happened in Braja, his heart burned in a fire of sorrow." 346. The most excellent Brahmana carefully brought Sarup somewhat back to normal. Then Sarup, fearful of becoming confused again, spoke no further details on that topic. Commentary. The Mathura Brahmana, just to bring his guru back to external consciousness, called out to him, touched his feet, and sprinkled him with water. Text 347. But when kind-hearted Sarup saw that the Mathura Brahmana was eager to hear the rest of the story, he controlled his mind and continued to speak. Commentary. Because Sarup's disciple, the Brahmana, had a strong desire to hear, Sarup, even at the cost of his own well-being, felt the compassionate duty to help him spiritually advance. Text 348. Sri Sarup said, when Krishna heard from a reliable person that the heavy sorrow the Brajbasis felt could never be removed by any other means, he fully explained this state of affairs to the people of Mathura. And controlled by the love of his dearest devotees, he soon went back to Braja. Commentary. According to the advice of Uddhava and other dependable counselors, only Krishna's return would calm the Brajabasis. Krishna and Balaram therefore exchanged their royal garments for their old cowherd dress and went home. Text 349. Impelled by compassion for the residents of Braja, Krishna, that crest jewel of artful heroes, quickly gave them back their lives. He enjoyed with them until they forgot their misery and what had caused it. Commentary. Krishna made sure that the Brajabasis forgot every last thought that had caused them anguish, including Akrura's having come to Braja and taken him away to Mathura. Krishna took this trouble for two reasons. Because he is Vidagdha Murdanya Mani, the most gracious performer of valorous deeds, and because he is Kripa Kula, driven by compassion for his suffering devotees. Kripa Kula. Text 350. And if any Brajabasis ever remembered that suffering, they would bitterly lament and cry out in fear, "What a horrible, unheard of thing I saw in my dream." Per commentary. Even in their dreams, the Brajabasis couldn't imagine Krishna leaving them to go elsewhere. Their panic at the mere thought of it was but another aspect of their ecstatic love for Krishna. Text 351. The fullness of Krishna's sweet cowherd pastimes so utterly attracted and enchanted the Brajabasis' senses that after a time they forgot everything, even that there was a past or a future. Text 352. O friend, on another occasion, the same Akrura came to Braja on his chariot as if he had never come before. Commentary. On the order of Kamsa, the same Akrura came again to bring Krishna to Mathura. Because everyone, including Akrura, was bewildered by the influence of the Goloka atmosphere, no one could remember that this was not the first time Akrura had arrived in Vrindavan. He once again took away the life of Braja and its residents, went again into the same state. Again Krishna went to Madhupuri, again killed Kamsa, and again returned to Braja, where he continued, as before, to enjoy his pastimes. 355. Thus Krishna again and again goes to Kamsa's city, as he many times did before, and again returns to sport in Braja. 356. Krishna subdues Kaliya time and again in the same way and time and again lifts Govardhan hill, and again and yet again he performs his many other wonderful pastimes. Thus the Lord enchants the hearts of his devotees. Commentary. Since all of Krishna's pastimes, beginning with the killing of Putana, are eternal, Krishna enjoys them with his devotees in Goloka as often as they like. Yet each time a pastime is repeated, it seems completely new, as if never seen or heard of before. This description may confuse us. How can Krishna replay pastimes he has already performed? And how can demons like Putana repeatedly be killed? But Krishna's pastimes are transcendental. They are unlimitedly attractive to all his devotees, whether eternal companions or new converts to pure devotional service. Even newly elevated devotees feel extraordinary love for the Supreme Person whenever they hear and remember his pastimes. Those pastimes generate such a force of loving attraction as to fix the memories of them in the hearts of the devotees. Meditation on those pastimes then gives rise to a very special happiness. In this way, Krishna's pastimes steal the hearts of even neophyte devotees, and Krishna's eternal devotees taste the sweetness and wonder unknown to anyone else. Text 357. But the residents of Braja, completely bewildered by the Kalakuta poison of their supreme love for Sri Krishna, never think that any of these events has ever occurred before. Commentary. Because the Brajabasis are never aware that Krishna's pastimes are repeat performances, the attraction they feel for those pastimes is never impeded. The highest states of Krishna prema have the power to create such bewilderment. Text 358. Thus the powerful force of their obsessive love ever increasingly grows, both in union and in separation. Text 359. As true as this is for the eternal residents of Braja, even newcomers like me can hardly remember those past events. Commentary. In pure devotional life, everyone is fully absorbed in transcendence. Some devotees, however, can be distinguished as nutna, new, because they were conditioned souls and have recently been reinstated in their original position by devotional practice and the Supreme Lord's personal grace. Text 360. How can any resident of Braja not forget in this way? The Brajavasis, after all, are ever immersed in the ocean made by these river currents of most enchanting sweetness. And by gaining the vast, most desirable treasure of pure love, the Brajavasis become maddened. Text 361. And oh, the most glorious thing is that the foremost of enlightened persons, the Lord himself, while drowning in an ocean of love for his dear devotees, cannot always remember what he has done and what he is going to do. Hare Krishna. Commentary. Isn't perfect knowledge an automatic byproduct of love of God? Why then are the pure devotees of Goloka so forgetful? Yes, to one who has prema, omniscience comes naturally. But prema, being all-powerful, can redefine what is knowledge and what is ignorance. The personality of Godhead himself by the influence of his yogamaya, also forgets what he did before. But though he often forgets, he sometimes remembers, if it serves the purpose of his pastimes. Text 362. The pastimes of the Lord are ever existing and purely spiritual, formed of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Of their own accord, those pastimes attracted to the Lord's lotus feet to engage in service follow him everywhere, supplying the entourage and paraphernalia for each occasion. Commentary. Krishna's pastimes are Satchidananda, Mayi, composed of Sat, eternal existence, Chit, full awareness, and Ananda, pure ecstasy. In this context, the suffix Mayi could mean either identity or transformation. In other words, since Krishna's Leelas are a display of Krishna's internal energy, they are non-different from him, and they are also a manifestation of transcendental variety. There are never any defects in Krishna's Leelas, even when Krishna seems to behave like an ordinary person. The ladies of the neighborhood complained to Yashoda, "When Krishna is caught in his naughty activities, the master of the house will say to him, 'Oh, you are a thief,' and artificially express anger at Krishna. Krishna will then reply, 'I am not a thief, you are a thief.'" Sometimes being angry, Krishna passes urine and stool in a neat, clean place in our houses. But now, our dear friend Yashoda, this expert thief, is sitting before you like a very good boy. Sometimes all the gopis would look at Krishna sitting there, his eyes fearful, so that his mother would not chastise him. And when they saw Krishna's beautiful face, instead of continuing to complain about him, they would simply look upon his face and enjoy transcendental bliss. Mother Yashoda would mildly smile at all this fun, and she would not want to chastise. She would not want to chastise her blessed transcendental child. Bhagavatam 10:8-31. To Krishna's feet, his pastimes are attracted by their own desire to serve him, and they are attracted by the service attitude of his devotees. In the words of the Sri Vishnu Purana, the pastimes of the Lord of the universe unfold by their sweet will as he imitates the activities of living beings embodied as humans. Text 363. O Brahmana, thus I have told you about Goloka's unique, most extreme greatness and sweetness, which flow everywhere like a flooding river. 364. The Mathura Brahmana said, after striving for so long, in so many ways, and with so many desires in your heart, you achieved Krishna's abode. Now that he has gone to Madhupuri, where will you reside, and how will you live? Commentary. For a very long time, Gopakumar had harbored the desire to see Sri Gopaldev and join him in his pastimes. Now Gopakumar has finally reached his destination, Goloka Vrindavan. But Krishna has left Vrindavan to go to Mathura. Under the circumstances, how can Gopakumar tolerate living in Vraja? And since he is attached to the countryside where Krishna performed his childhood pastimes, how can he consider living in Mathura? 365. Sri Swarup said, By the order of the Lord, I and all devotees like me continue to live in Braja in the company of Nanda and the others whose moods resemble ours. Commentary. When Krishna left Braja, he gave special instructions to the new devotees who would come to his abode on the strength of his mercy and their spontaneous Raganuga sadhana. He told them to remain in Braja and continue to associate with great devotees like Nanda, whose ways of devotion were similar to their own. Otherwise, if the new devotees were to go to Mathura, the incompatible local mood would disturb them, and their spiritual development would be impeded. With such considerations in mind, Sri Haribhakti Sudodaya 851 states, if an intelligent person wants to see his family prosper, he should stay with his own kind. 366. This is the nature of Goloka, Krishna's world. Even in his absence, the residents want to stay. None want to go anywhere else. 367. There, sorrow dances vigorously on the head of every kind of happiness, and anguish gives a joy more intense than any bliss. I'll read that again. There, sorrow dances vigorously on the head of every kind of happiness, and anguish gives a joy more intense than any bliss. Commentary. In Goloka, the apparent misery of separation from Krishna is in fact the greatest happiness, and the anxiety felt by the Goloka-vasis is more ecstatic than any other pleasure. As already explained, both these contrary effects are due to the unique nature of the special love for Krishna found only in Goloka. 368. After so long, having attained my desires, there I reside, beyond all desires, and to my heart's content, I relish the supreme and endless perfection of life. Yet the nature of that reality is such that I never feel satiated. 369. Never then for any reason can I give up Krishna's all-attractive lotus feet, smeared with the kumkum from the breasts of the women of Braja. Never can I stop serving those feet with my senses, body, and mind, not even for a fraction of a second. Text 370. Krishna showed this most wretched person the favor of his mercy, mercy others can never hope for, enhanced with the taste of his divine sweetness. To no one should this be disclosed, yet I have recounted my story to you. Commentary. As Srila Sanatana Goswami has revealed earlier in his commentary, Srimati Radharani personally ordered Sri Sarup to enlighten the Mathura Brahmana. 371. After staying some time in Goloka, I realized this splendid Mathura Mandala here in the mortal world is not different. Commentary. Knowledge of Goloka applies equally to Gokula and vice versa, because these two places are identical, just as a jnani's realization of impersonal Brahman includes realization of the individual spirit soul. Realization of either Goloka or Gokula includes realization of the other. Were impersonal realization to disallow the Brahmavadis from perceiving their own selves, they would have no impetus to follow their own discipline, because knowledge of Brahman in the beginning of its development, is too subtle to perceive. Impersonal Brahman cannot be known by the untrained mind. And so for the benefit of neophyte jnanis, the Upanishads refer to Brahman merely as Tat, that, as in the famous aphorism of the Chandogya Upanishad 6.8.7, Tat Tvam Asi, you are that. Text 372. Divine gopas, gopis, and cows abound in variety in Gokula, just as in Goloka. And so do the other animals, and the birds, and the insects, and the mountains, rivers, trees, and other beings. Commentary. Goloka and Gokula resemble one another down to the details of individual living beings. The individual persons playing the roles in one place may be distinct from those in the other, but the functions they serve and the pleasure pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are exactly the same. Gokula's cowherd men and women and all its creatures, down to the creepers and bushes, closely resemble their counterparts in the spiritual world. 373. And this place is adorned with a never-ending stream of similar pastimes, expanded by the glorious Krishna Chandra. 374. I reside therefore sometimes here and sometimes there. No longer do I perceive any difference between these two abodes. Commentary. Sri Sarup and his disciple are in Brajabhumi on earth. Now, Sri Sarup sees no difference between the two abodes. But before he attained this realization, he had to make a great endeavor to transfer himself from Gokula to Goloka. Text 375. Traveling from one to the other, back and forth, may make it seem that there is some distinction, but I am so attached to both places that I hardly notice any difference. Commentary. Sarup perceives a distance as he moves from the middle of the material universe to the topmost limit of the spiritual sky, but to him this distraction is insignificant. The journey is no more troublesome than the walk of a farmer has to take to yield to a field near his home. Text 376. Neither my sight, nor my hearing, nor even my mind ever touches any other abode than these two. Commentary. Being exclusively attached to Krishna and his abodes, Sri Sarup is oblivious to everything else. 377. My heart never thinks that the original Supreme Lord Sri Krishna or his devotees, like those present here, could ever reside anywhere else. Here Sarup is talking only about Swayam Bhagavan, the original personality of Godhead, and his Braja devotees, not about the Lord's expansions like Vasudeva in Dwarka and their devotees like Vasudeva. 378. From time to time, I may see residents of Vaikuntha or some other place, but to my eyes, they appear tormented by separation from Krishna. Commentary. Sri Sarup's vision is that of a Paramahansa, situated in the Brajabhava, the mood of Braja. He sees everything, everyone, even outsiders, as if they were also in that mood. When he meets devotees from Dwarka, Ayodhya, and Vaikuntha, he projects his own feelings onto them and presumes that they are anguished by not being with Krishna in Braja. In this way, nothing distracts Sarup from his meditation on the glories of Goloka, and he remains satisfied in all circumstances. Hare Krishna. I'll stop here our reading for tonight, and coming to the end of chapter 6. Okay.
Sriman Jai said, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Jai Rati, Hare Krishna.
Anandamurti Devi Dasi. Jai Guru Dev, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is 3:15 a.m. in Japan, and today I'm listening this reading with Bhaktin, Hiromi, Bhaktin, Yukari, and Kariva Devi Dasi. All are Japanese sincere devotees. Thank you so much.
Wow, the crowd is growing over there. Hare Krishna. So happy to see the devotees listening to the Brhad Bhagavatamrta. Hare Krishna.
This is from Krishna Primavati Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna Maharaj and devotees, Dandavat pranams.
Haribo.
Ganga Ma Devi Dasi. My. Hare Krishna.
Gangama Devi Dasi.
Mm-hmm.
Hare Krishna.
I don't know if that, maybe if that makes sense. I'll say it anyway. Krishna, from Krishna Primavati Devi Dasi. Vidagda Vardanyamani Kripa Kuli.
Yeah.
Question mark.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Well, Kripakula, I noted this in my mind. And I didn't fix it in my mind, but I noted it. This is in verse 249. Don't let me forget, I'm in 379. That's where we are. So I'm going to make a note so we won't lose place next time. What did I say? $379. Okay, now we'll go back to 349. I made a note of this in my mind when we were reading. This name especially I like, Kripakula. 349. Yeah. Yes, this is discussing why it is that Krishna takes the trouble to be taken away from Braja and go to Mathura again and again. And the first one is Vidagda Murdanya Mani. He is the most gracious performer of valorous deeds. So see, his pastimes expand his own glories. So every time he does something to protect his other devotees, they expand his glories, and makes him a performer of various heroic deeds. And the second reason is that he takes the trouble to do this, is that he is Kripa Kula, driven by compassion for his suffering devotees. So Kripa Kula, he's driven from Braja to Mathura because his devotees in Mathura are feeling, are suffering. And he goes back and forth. doing both of these things at the same time. He's performing various valorous deeds and increasing. And in this way, Krishna's pastimes are always increasing in intensity of all the different feelings that are available. Hare Krishna.
Saloni Sachi Sundari.
Saloni Sachi Sundari. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. From Bhaktin Hiromi. Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Bhakti Hirimani.
Thank you always for the wonderful class. Your servant Bhaktin Hiromi.
Hiromi, Hare Krishna.
From Vilas Manjari, Dasi.
Hare Krishna Vilas Manjari.
Dear Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Krishna's pastimes themselves have their own will and are Satchitananda.
I was wondering if someone's going to bring up this point. Yes, it's true. They're non-different than Krishna. Don't ask me to go very deep into this, because this is, first of all, it's inconceivable. But they have a mind of their own. And it means that they're, how do I say this? They're enacted by Krishna, but like it said before, sometimes Krishna forgets what he did. Remember? We just heard that. Sometimes he forget what he did, and he forget what's going to happen. Even though he knows everything, past, present, and future. And even though in the spiritual world there's no time, past, present, and future. So therefore, his pastime, Leela Shakti, his Leela Shakti, the personified energy that enacts his pastimes and allows him to forget and to remember. Of course, it's by his permission that they're doing that. It's in service to him that they're doing that. But still, the effect on him is the same as the effect on his devotees. And therefore, his pastimes have their own will. They expand and unfold and happen again and again by their own will. Hare Krishna.
Yes, from Ananda Murti Devidasi.
Hare Krishna Anandamurti.
Today I found the sorrow of Rajavasi is the most highest pleasure. It is transcendental. It is amazing that those pastimes are repeatedly going on every moment, again and again.
Yes, and that's why we want to go there.
Krishna Premavati Devidasi, thank you for elaborating, Maharaj.
Now, first of all, another thing is that you noticed also in the reading, we heard how it was that Gopakumar had to endeavor greatly to get to Goloka Vrindavan. But once he had gotten there and realized that Goloka Vrindavan and Brajabhumi on the earth are the same, he goes back and forth effortlessly, without any botheration at all. And he sees them as one and the same. They are one and the same. Therefore, to think that something is in one place and not in the other is just due to misperception.
From Vilas Manjari Dasi.
Hare Krishna Vilas Manjari.
Maharaj, you have been discussing lately how there is absence of time and space in the spiritual world. Could you kindly explain a little more about what the absence of space means?
In the material world, every point in space has a specific place. And therefore, when you move from one place to another, the distance in between those places is called space. In the spiritual world, there is no distance. No one is ever apart from anyone else. And Krishna is everywhere at the same time. And he can act pastimes over and over again. He can replay. And this is the secret for these recurring pastimes and how people forget. Because it's very difficult to understand. In time and space in the material world, there's a linear movement. And once you've done something, you can never take it back again and redo it. Unless you own a very fancy television and you can record it, go back to the place it was recorded and then record it again. But in the spiritual world, it's not like that. You can relive something. And Krishna does that out of his own sweet will to do those two things we just heard. Out of compassion for his devotees, to increase their pleasure so that nothing ever gets boring, and to expand his own glories. They're ever increasing for this reason. And the two, the devotees and Krishna, are always competing with one another, how to please the other. And when one sees the other acting like that, his beauty and greatness and everything expand, and vice versa. When they see Krishna's beauty expand, their love expands and their service expands. And then he again expands his beauty and qualities in response to their service. And back and forth it goes, forever. So there's never any moment of boredom. Hare Krishna.
From Kai Morishima.
Kai Morishima. Sounds like Japan.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept Mahabodh obeisances. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
Rati Manjari, amazing. It really, I guess, it really is a matter of consciousness.
Yes, exactly right. It's a matter of consciousness.
Yeah.
Thank you all for that wonderful reflection and those those discussions. Sri Brhad Bhagavatamrta ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. See you tomorrow night, same time, same place, same topic, and it's always expanding. So don't think that you can ever understand it all. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.